afternoon to everyone. It's really good to see. It's been like a reunion here. It's been great. I've seen Wade and Mike and Tara and a number of people, so it's been really nice to catch up. I guess maybe that means I haven't been out here enough recently. So, all right, so I'm just kind of to get a feel for the room, just kind of wanted to see who is using COSO in their at their business now, like in some manner, whether it's the old one or the new one or whatever. Okay, so how many use it strictly for like SOX 404 documentation? Okay, so only a couple people. And then, and so like all the rest of you are just here for CPE and lunch, right? Okay. Alrighty, well, so we're here to talk about COSO. I understand that Larry Hubbard's coming in and doing a day presentation on COSO in February, so if you've signed up for that, I kind of figured that this is just kind of a lead into that full day presentation, because you can only cover so much in an hour or so. But we're going to cover a couple of things today. We're going to talk about what is COSO, why was the COSO model updated, what has and has not changed, how can I use the model, how do I ensure I'm ready by the end of the year, and what additional resources are available to help me. So we're going to go through all that today. So I have two massive slides here on COSO, but I believe that pretty much everyone here looks like they're using COSO, has heard about COSO, and what have you. So I'm not going to go through all of this today. I'm sure you all are kind of grateful for that. So, COSO, what I will say is SOX kind of made COSO the cool kid on the block. So the models were out there and they were being used, but the full implementation of COSO on a widespread use really was down to SOX. So like I said, this kind of made it the cool kid on the block, because when SOX came out, management was required to use a suitable, recognized, controlled framework for the work that they were doing, and it had to be established by a body of experts who followed a specific process. So suddenly COSO was like the model to be used, and that is what most people use. So that's where a lot of us have gotten familiar with COSO. So why did it change? Well, certainly business models are certainly more complex than they were in the past. Technology changes, certainly. Talking to my kids the other day about my first internal audit job way in the dark ages, and I get to the office and there's a desk and a pen and paper and things like that, but certainly no computer. And they're like, what? You didn't have a computer? And then the internet was like basically not heard of. I mean, anybody young in this room is kind of looking at me saying, oh my gosh, but you guys remember the day where there was no internet. And I even remember the conversation that audit had with the IT department at one point in the bank as to whether, when the internet started coming online and what have you, are we going to give everyone access to the internet or not, and what are the risks? And at one point, each office had a computer, standalone computer. That one computer was connected to the internet so they could, monitor the traffic and see what was happening. And if you had to do anything on the internet, you went to that one computer and sat down and did what you needed to do and then went back to your desk. So certainly technology has changed from that standpoint, the addition of email and cell phones and that type of thing. Certainly globalization of businesses. I know talking to Mike earlier, we were talking about the travel and how many people in here, and certainly Universal Tobacco, used to be, businesses were local, or you might even have something that was national, but, really more the fact that the borders are changing, that, flights are easier to get, the internet is broken down, borders and that kind of thing. So the globalization of businesses certainly has affected SOX. Greater demand for accountability and transparency. I put in some really stupid jokes in this just to kind of make sure everybody's awake after lunch. So this is, we talk about transparency, and we're like, whoa, let's not go crazy. Can't we just make them translucent, because there's that drive to make, businesses more transparent, to have more accountability and that type of thing. So certainly that has driven some changes. And I think all of us kind of felt like this when the SOX change just first came in and we were implementing COSO. But certainly, again, a couple other changes here. Governance, regulatory people in banking, like I know Tara's in banking and certain people in the healthcare industry. You know, the constant change in the regulatory guidance, if you're in government, what have you, that's just kind of the snowball effect that's affected COSO. And so we know that certainly is. The last thing we want to talk about here related to the changes is expectations to preventing and detecting fraud. As internal auditors, we like to stand behind that kind of saying we're not responsible for detecting fraud, which is true, but we are responsible for creating procedures that, you know, have the possibility to detect fraud and making sure that our companies are putting procedures and controls in place that help prevent and detect fraud. And so the new COSO guidance certainly has a greater emphasis on that fraud aspect. I feel like this all the time when we're talking about this.